Welcome back to Clubhouse Chronicles, the place where the Central Illinois music scene gets loud, proud, and unfiltered. I'm Twitt, your host with the most for spinning the stories, the sounds, and the struggles behind the bands that are making waves right here in your backyard. Clubhouse Chronicles is the official podcast of Broken Record Music Club, your favorite independent record label, bringing you music for whatever you are going through. With that, let's buckle on up because this isn't just a podcast. It's your front row ticket to the heart of the indie music scene. And I know in this big intro, I talk about how the struggles of the bands and on their stories and all that shit. There's a whole lot of other creatives in this community that also deserve some shine. And tonight we're sitting down with one of them. He just joined the Broken Record Music Club team, the Clubhouse Chronicles team. He's a fucking stud. I've gotten the privilege of working with this guy, with Jenny Scara, Monarch, all sorts of things. He's a great guy to have behind the lens. Talking about a photographer from the Bloomington normal scene. He's considered the godfather of the Central Illinois music scene, the Bloomington normal music scene when it comes to photography. I'm talking about Ryan McCauley. Welcome to the Clubhouse, Ryan. What's up, man?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man. I'm super stoked to be here and super stoked to be a part of the Broken Record Music Club team.
Dude, I was so excited when you slid up on the story we posted. It caught me really off guard because I was like, well, he's, you don't really expect someone who's got all this photography stuff and videography stuff going on to do something like that. And then, well, bam. And it was a no-brainer. So I'm glad I'm definitely glad to have you on the team. You've made my life easier already, and you're doing so many cool creative things for us that hopefully you guys have been seeing. So yeah, thanks for being here, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Want to jump off and just start from the beginning. What got you started in photography?
So when I was in high school, I was doing a lot of like skateboarding and stuff, and one of my friends, he started getting me into like videography, and I kind of just like spiraled from there. So I was filming a lot of skateboarding. I filmed like snowboarding a little bit too, more so skateboarding though. And then when I came into college, I wasn't really like taking photos or anything. I was more just kind of like recording myself on my phone, super simple stuff. And then I started going to some local shows because my friends were like, hey, we're going to this local show. Like, you should totally come with us. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because I met this guy one time skateboarding. Shout out Trevor real quick. But yeah, so he took me to my first show, and that's when I first saw like Harrison Gordon, first saw Kangaroo Court, Athena, goated lineup, honestly. But I just like took a couple photos with my phone at that show, and it just kind of went from there. I was at every single show, every single weekend. And I just noticed that like nobody was taking photos. So I was like, it's kind of up to me to like do that. And I also enjoyed it too. So it wasn't like nobody's documenting it, so I have to. It was like I enjoyed taking photos.
Yeah, like I said at the top, I mean, talk about we're sitting with greatness here. This guy kind of started the whole documentation of the BloNo scene within this past couple of years. I mean, he's shouted out some pretty big names: Kangaroo Court, Harrison Gordon, Chuck's Papas was a group at the time that maybe you youngins out there listening might not know about because they broke up. But you covered so many really cool bands and artists during this time, and you still do to this day. What was it really like getting in on the kind of the ground floor with all that, and then ultimately like hitting your stride, like finally feeling comfortable behind the camera?
Yeah, it was definitely rough. Like, but at the same time it wasn't, because like I know a lot now of like there's so many people doing like design, photography, videography, and there's just like I guess almost like an overwhelming feeling. But I didn't really have that because there was nobody documenting like that in the scene. So I never really felt that sort of like imposter syndrome or like that I typically feel with like my other creative facets. So it really kind of helped me grow. Not necessarily comparing to myself to other people as much. I mean,
I
obviously
guess it
now I
helps.
have like so many people that I'm like, man, I look up to these guys and they're like going on tour with bands, like month-long tours, and I'm like, dude, how? You know?
It's kind of great that you got your start like that though, without the, the outside noise kind of. You kind of just got to hone in on learning stuff and perfecting how you like your style, which is
Yeah.
kind of what I want to get into next is how would you describe like your style of photography and videography?
I don't know. I would say it's like high movement. Also I like kind of back to my roots in like skateboarding and stuff. It's like very low angle, very like close-up shots, a lot of detail. Um, yeah.
Now, did your style come along just because obviously you have some influence with skateboarding? As you kind of got behind the lens and started shooting more, did you start to look towards anyone? Like, did you have any influences that kind of steered where you took your creativity to?
Not necessarily. It was more of like I would always like see photos of like bands and stuff and of like bigger names like Green Day and all that, but I was like, man, I just never see people taking like these photos. So it was more I was taking the photos for myself first. And like people just happen to like them and that's really cool. And like as you said before, it was like kind of a staple and like the kind of like more famous person in the Bloomington normal scene, and that's still just like a crazy statement for me to hear. And like people are like, dude, I've seen your photos, or like I'm like, hey, I took photos tonight, like let me put on my Instagram, and they're already following me. And it's just a crazy feeling. I don't know if I'll ever get over it, I'm not gonna lie.
It's got to be like very, I don't want to say gratifying, but like, um, God, what's the fucking word? Ethan, you should put in like some Jeopardy music here while I'm thinking.
Yeah.
This is so fun that I get to like make these little notes for Ethan. God, a
Yeah.
little side note, but um it's got to be so nice. I guess gratifying kind of fits where
Yeah.
it's like, you're putting all this hard work in, you're putting a lot of time into perfecting your craft, and to hear those kinds of compliments and to like, that's crazy to see people like, oh yeah, I follow you already, or like, oh dude, I've seen your
Yeah.
photos. That's so cool. Like, especially from, I know, being a photographer and a videographer versus like the actual artist, because I feel like it's more common like when you talk to artists, like that's a surreal feeling.
Yeah.
But for a photographer, I think it's even more unique just because people are drawn to your art of photos and videos rather than music.
Yeah. And it's really cool because I would always like the first like festival that I went to, or I guess like first music event that I went to was North Coast in Chicago back in 2019, like right before COVID hit. So that was more just like electronic music, a lot of DJs and stuff like that. But I would always see all the photographers in the pit, and I'm like, I want to like know who they are. And I guess that sort of stemmed where where I my kind of stance is on it, and like people know me, like that's crazy. It's like, you know.
You said now that you've kind of figured out your style, you've started to look to other people. Who are some other photographers that you kind of look up to in what they're doing?
um Photogenic Kate is for sure like one of the ones that I started to look up to once I started like figuring out who the other photographers in the scene were. As well as Nina King. She was taking a lot of photos for Kangaroo Court before Noah left, because they live on the East Coast now. But and it was just like their like the warmth of their photos, but also like with Kate's like just super like aggressive, like textured. I don't know, it just I very much like resonate with that style of photography. And obviously like I have my own, but it's definitely like gaining some inspiration from that for sure.
So we've talked a lot about like the photography side of things, and I know you do some videography too. Like you were able to capture some videos from Monarch's set at the castle just with the
Yeah.
label. Um, Was it a pretty natural transition to videography as well, or did you jump in with both at the same time?
So it was for sure more photo first. That was just because like once I got to college, I didn't know a ton of people that skated and not a ton of people like that I could film like regularly. So it was more like, oh, I do photo, but like I was like, I also have video skills. It's just I wasn't using them as often. Um, but once I kind of figured out, I think my style in photography, and also working with stumbling block and stumbling block sessions, shout out them, like that definitely helped me figure out like both what I want to do and what I don't want to do. Because with stumbling block, it's like, you know, you're working with a bunch of people, and that's like it's super awesome. Because like you have to learn how to flow together, you have to, you know, learn how to be creative together. And you know, I learned a lot of different things from that, especially like different camera settings specifically for video. um but yeah, it was for sure like it was easier after after I was taking photos for a little while, and after I kind of established my like style.
That's awesome. Do you prefer one over the other, or is it just kind of you like both?
I do like both, but I think since I've been doing photography for so long and also just way more consistently, I definitely would say I prefer that over video. And also there's so many like phenomenal videographers around. Like it's like I'm like I'm glad that I'm not doing that, and that I have my kind of own thing going, because there's, you know, like I said, so many great ones.
So you've been around a lot of really awesome people, like just being able to take their photos and take some videos for them. What have who have been some of your favorite to work with so far?
um that's a toughie for sure. um I don't know, Harrison is always just like a fun one, just because like, you know, as he was starting to get more popular, I was like starting to document that. And, you know, we would always have like a little like quote unquote post show ritual of like, hey, I'm showing him the like photos that I got. And he's like, dude, these are super sick. Um, so he's always been a fun one. The courts too. Because they've also, you know, brought me to a lot of the larger Chicago venues, Talia Hall, in particular. Like that was super fun one to shoot at for the first time, and also just my first time being there. But yeah, those guys are always super fun. And then yeah, I would say in the like larger band realm, even like from the very like few that I have shot, Bad Nerves was definitely fun. Those guys are like super nice. Um and I don't know, just a lot of energy that they bring to the stage.
Do you have one shoot or one event that like really stands out in your brain as like one that you'll never forget, like the one that you're always going back to?
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't okay. So, well, there's one show that I always like remember as I think one of my favorite shows ever. Um, and I've like barely took photos at that one. But it was the lineup was insane. It was Bum Rush, Kangaroo Court, the Courts, and then 4x4 Animal Style. And I was like, you can't get much better than that, you know? And it was like first time seeing the chords too, and that kind of sparked my love for their music. But I would say one of my favorites, I don't know, I think I would have to say the courts at Talia Hall. First time I ever shot photos for him. That one was very sick. And especially because like I, you know, like they invited me to the show, and they were like I was able to go into the green rooms, which I was like going into a green room alone just as a photographer is like insane, because like that never happens, you know? So, and you know, going into a venue for my first time and going into like the little kind of back rooms and those little areas, that's definitely a moment that's kind of ingrained in my memories.
It sounds pretty cool. I mean, Talia Hall, what a venue. we've had some conversations lately just because you've graduated from college, so you've kind of
Yeah.
transitioned to life after school, and you're not located in Central Illinois. You're not, right? You're in
No.
Naperville.
Yeah.
Okay, so since you've graduated, how has like the photography efforts or the gigs kind of changed for you? Because I know this is something that we've talked about, but what are the pros and cons of being out of college now that you're still pursuing the same passion?
Yeah. Definitely gonna be honest here. It's kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of hard. But what I have come to realize is like the kind of highs and lows of when like busier times of year are and like when slower times are. Obviously, winter time super slow. Not a ton of people are hosting shows. Everyone's back from college. Very similar with summer. And then as soon as like the school year picks up, August, September, that's when gigs usually start coming through. um but yeah, it's definitely been hard, but obviously I'm trying to get into that next sort of bracket, I guess. The next step up from local shows, trying to shoot for bigger bands, like Bad Nerves, like I mentioned before. um Deaf Heaven back in October, that one was pretty crazy. And more recently Harrison at Salt Shed. But it's working my way up gradually, and also just still looking for full-time jobs in the graphic design world. So but job market isn't isn't the greatest right now. It's pretty shit, I'm not gonna
What a world we live in.
lie. For real.
As we're kind of so I always have two questions that I ask and I save them for the end, but I have one more for you.
Yeah.
Who is your dream artist to or band to shoot?
Ooh.
You can give
Ooh.
a couple if you need.
Yeah. um for sure Green Day. Like that's up there. Radiohead. My That was like one of my first memories of like music was my dad playing Body Snatchers from In Rainbows, and I was like, I don't even know how old I was, but I was like, this is the best song ever. And then yeah, for sure them. um I don't know, I'm trying to think of like another one because I've also shot photos for DJs too. Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head because I've already some of the artists that I listened to in high school, I already shot photos for or am going to in the very near future. Little sneak peek there, but
Oh, big things
um,
coming.
yeah, so pretty
Big
exciting
things.
stuff.
Hell yeah. I have one question that kind of to follow up, like, because you said that you shoot for DJs too. Does it differ for you when you're shooting for like artists or bands versus like a DJ? And what are those
Absolutely,
differences like?
yeah. So definitely the difference is it's one person. So you have to figure out a bunch of different angles. You're more so moving around instead of like more just being in like the photo pit. You're kind of moving more towards like the back of the venue to get like the whole crowd in there, especially if it's like a nightclub. Because I've shot a couple of those before. But also just finding more interesting angles because the DJs are playing off CDJs instead of a drum kit, a guitar, bass. And they're obviously not messing with like pedals or anything like that. So that's another difficult part.
It's very interesting to hear the differences because you wouldn't think that there's many differences, but
Yeah.
there you go. Also, I lied about that being the last question and this being the last question. This is for real the last question though. So don't come for me in the comments or on the Spotify comments or whatever you're listening on. If you could give advice to someone who's just starting out, like if imagine like back when you were just getting into college, what advice would you give them?
um I would say biggest thing is like, and I know everybody says this, but comparison is the thief of joy. So that's something that really kind of helped me out, and still helps me out to this day. Um, and also like a lot of people ask me, they're like, hey, how do you get into photography? Like, you know, a lot of your or like similar questions. And I always tell them, I'm like, I started shooting photos with my phone. I even had a little like detachable fisheye lens that I used. Um, You can actually see if you scroll all the way down to my Instagram page, there's a couple of those. But yeah, just like start shooting photos with your phone or digicams. That's another huge one. Digicams have gotten phenomenal lately. So, and they're also like super easy to bring into venues. You can also zoom better on those. The quality's a little bit better on digicams. But I also still have the same phone that I shot photos on. So it's whatever you have around. Also just, if you want to do video, old camcorders, that's another thing that's super popular right now. But I don't know, just like lean into what you like. Like if there's a certain type of kind of vibe that you want to go for, more nostalgic, or like me personally, I like, very crisp, very like clear images. Go that route. But yeah.
Hell yeah. Great advice for all the new people coming into Central Illinois' music scene and being like, wow, how can I be a part? Don't be afraid to create.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to create. And if you want to get into photos, listen to that shit, because you're talking to the Godfather right here. Ryan, we typically end these videos with the same two questions, and it's the same for artists and creatives that come on. The first one is, what is your favorite part about the Central Illinois music scene?
I would have to say the community. After going to countless shows and like talking to everybody, and also like a very kind of niche thing about me, and that not a lot of people know, is like I was like straight edge for a little while. So like I was going to shows completely sober, like talking to everybody. And that's kind of like I didn't necessarily have the alcohol or drugs or anything to, I guess, help me like talk to people. So I just kind of put myself out there, and people are very welcoming, whether you're intoxicated or not. So and another thing is like, as I was talking about previously with getting into photography and videography and stuff like that, go up and like talk to the people who are taking photos and videos. Like it's we don't bite. um we would love to talk with everyone who has an interest in it, because we want to share our love of the craft.
Always a great answer. Community, probably the top answer. If we had a little percentage meter, it would be at the top, tippy top.
Yeah.
The last question is arguably the hardest question that I'm going to ask. It's highly contested, but here we go. Who are some of your favorite artists and bands currently in the Central Illinois music scene? You can name a couple.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't name one.
Gotta go with the Courts. Chapter is another good one. They just put out an album back in November. Definitely go recommend listening to that. And then I gotta go with Harrison as well. Yeah, I would say those right now are definitely some of my favorites.
Well, bam, you heard it. The Godfather. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on today and chatting with us. Unfortunately, that's all the questions I got. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on and sharing your story, how you got your start, and just kind of walking us through the world of photography and videography with all these artists, great artists and great bands that we have in our scene. Be sure to keep up with the Godfather himself, Ryan McCauley, on Instagram at RyanMCC_photos. You can also check out his website. It is www.RyanMcCauley.com. Check out all the photos he's got. If you're an artist out there and you're looking for some great photos, hit this man up. He's label tested, label approved. Put the records or the record label's logo on it to stamp the approval. 10 out of 10 word. Oh my gosh. 10 out of 10 would work with this guy every time. So definitely hit him up for all your inquiries and more. But just like that, that's our show. You've been hanging out with Clubhouse Chronicles, where the sounds are hot, the stories are hotter, and the vibes absolutely off the charts. Don't forget to hit us up on Instagram at Club Chron Pod for all updates, news, and more on this podcast. Guess what? New segment coming soon. Drea Aarons is plotting and scheming right now, and it is going to be fantastic. More on that coming soon on our page. You don't want to miss it, so follow us. Ethan G, he's the editor now. He's been making some killer clips. You can follow and see all those cool things on our Instagram. And this guy right here, the guy we interviewed, Ryan McCauley, he's the guy who's been making our graphic design skills so much better. He's redefined all the designs, and they are stellar. So follow us and see all these cool new things that are being implemented slowly. For all things label related, though, you can still follow us over at Broken Record Music Club across all socials for you to check out our artists and other cool things we're up to. Right now, we're in the middle of 2 album rollouts. Jenny Scara, if you've seen all those creepy cat videos running around, that's her. So check us out there. We also have Motus Band. We're currently rolling out their album. If you've seen a guy like rolling around on the floor talking about it like a blue race car or something, that's them. So you can see all that cool stuff on our page and their pages. So feel free to check those guys out as well. If you're watching on YouTube right now, huge thank you. Ethan G's killing it. He's got adding pizzazz. He's adding all these effects. Ethan, add an explosion right now to emphasize this. Boom. We're still putting all the podcast stuff on the Broken Record Music Club channel. So you can just check us out over there. If you could subscribe, that'd be really cool. It really helps these videos get out there and sent out to more people so that more people can learn about our community, our music community, our creative community. So if you could hit the subscribe button, that'd be great. If you're on Spotify,
don't forget to smash that like button too, though.
You can smash that like button. You can smash the like button. You can leave a comment. I only like to ask for one thing. It's a lot to ask for someone to smash that subscribe button, but if you want to hit all the buttons, that's cool too. And since we're talking about buttons, hit that subscribe or the follow button on Spotify. That also helps us a bunch too. Follow us on Spotify though, for real. Like that helps the algorithm so much, helps us push the podcast out there to new listeners and get people interested in our music scene. It's so important. That's why we do this. So if you could take the couple seconds that it takes to do this, that'd be amazing. Now that I'm done with my giant spiel, Ryan, do you have any parting words for our guests or for the audience, for our guests, for the audience?
Well, first off, thank you so much, Sal, for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you, the rest of the Broken Record Music Club team, and continue to work with all these amazing artists, and bringing new ones onto the label. It's been great so far. Just make sure that you're enjoying the music, supporting your local artists. Make sure you keep building those communities because it's more important than you might think.
Now more than ever, build your community, whatever it is. If it's Pokemon cards, do that. If it's music, do that. All these communities are amazing. So support everything. Support each other. And until next time, you be sure to keep it loud, keep it proud, and always remember, Central Illinois is where the music happens. Peace.